Hey, I'm And.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers, because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold? Stay tuned to find out as we chat to today's mystery guest.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So today we have a very special podcast.
Yes, we do.
And today, this is the podcast our listeners have been waiting for.
You have.
We have brought into this very studio our
one night only.
very husbands.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Tony and Noel.
Hey.
Round of applause, please, ladies and gents.
Now we are actually a little bit nervous about that, aren't we, Ange?
Me in particular, because Noel doesn't do so well in these environments.
It's not true.
We just don't know what's going to come out of
he
their
has
mouths.
no filter. There's no boundaries when he put a microphone in front of his
He
mouth.
has been enjoying that microphone.
I know.
And we haven't even turned it
Hasn't
on.
even been on. It's on now, though.
So I don't know what we've let ourselves in for, Beck.
Yeah.
Good morning,
And
people
I
of
have
Earth.
a feeling that our YouTube video is just going to be like all chopped up with all the edits that we're going to
This
have
is
to
the most
make.
heavily edited version.
So we apologise in advance if there's discontinuity. What's
Yeah.
that word?
It'll be, hi, my name's
Population.
Noel.
It's like Noel sitting in
Just
this one like
remember-
R2D2.
Your mother's a listener.
So literally anything goes on this podcast, and I think we may be regretting this one.
The gauntlet is down.
That's right.
So I think we're going to give a brief intro so that you, our listeners, you've been on the journey with us. You've heard us talk about our husbands. You've heard us talk about family life. So now it's our chance for you to really get to know them. But we want to test each other in that. Actually, I'm going to introduce Tony, which is Beck's husband,
Yes.
and Beck will introduce Noel. And let's just
Let's do
test
that.
our knowledge to see how much we know about you.
That's right.
So Tony, mighty man of mystery. No, Tony is just a wonderful human being. You are a cabinet maker and have been for many years of your life. But really, your biggest passion, besides your family and your faith, has been drums. And not only do you play drums, have been sponsored with by Zildjian, I think, in the past, and you've even travelled the world playing drums.
And
you
he
even
has 2 eardrums.
yes.
he started already. You also build drums. You use your carpentry to build drums and have a massive collection of some unique and wonderful drums. So it really is your passion. But you've also launched your own YouTube channel called Killer Drums TV, which I believe is really taking off. So, but another side thing that you do is a politician. And
Yes.
you've really got a heart and a passion for this nation, and particularly in the political field. So,
You've done well.
yeah, I think I've done pretty
You've
well.
done
Yeah, no
really
pressure
Father
there,
of
Beck.
4,
well done. Sorry.
No pressure there,
wife
Beck.
of 1,
Husband of...
wife. Sorry, what am I saying? Husband of 1.
And I'm going to introduce your husband,
Go on.
Noel. Noel, everybody loves Noel.
Yes.
Noel is our
Especially the ones that haven't
humour
met me.
relief at every gathering, aren't you, Noel?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that.
But Noel has got a massive heart for people, just loves on people, and is an amazing father, and is really invested into the board that you were on with Meriden Community and overseeing a lot of things going on there, aren't you?
I am indeed. And I have 2 eardrums.
Yes, and you have 2
Yeah.
drums, and you listen to drums a lot because your
I do.
son's a drummer.
I do.
Yes. So you've had an extraordinary life because you've seen 2 distinctly opposite sides of life, but we can get into that later.
Yeah, that's a really nice way of
That's
putting
a
it.
really
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought we could start off by doing a little game.
Hope it's
If-
animal impressions.
Is it
I'm really good
Twister?
at them.
Like, if anybody watches,
Teague.
like, if anyone's from our era or older, they probably remember a show that used to be on TV called Mr. and Mrs. And the partners would go into like a dark room, put earphones on, and you'd have to answer questions about your partner. So I thought it'd be a bit of fun to see what comes out if we do that. So we've got 5 questions, which we all, prior to this podcast, have written our answers to. So we'll see what
So we're
comes
getting our
out.
books out.
So here's question number 1.
This
If
gets
your
broadcast around
house
the world, doesn't it?
was burning down and you needed to make a rapid escape, what 3 things would your partner take with them? Right, let's start with you, Tony.
With me, okay. So Rebecca would take her husband, carrying all of her children.
Is that class as 1 or 2 or 3 or 4?
That's just one.
It's like a multiple.
Because I can carry all of them.
Yeah.
2 is her diaries and her Bible.
Oh, this is very good.
And number 3
Can I use them?
is my favourite 25 drum sets.
She's a good one. She's a keeper.
In that case, I think she's going to go down with the sheep.
She's a keeper. She might have to put one of the kids down.
I got the kids, you got the drums. That's the deal.
Right, okay. Beck, would you agree?
Well, no, I wouldn't agree with that because I wouldn't be carrying those drum kits out. But I would get him to carry the kids.
Yeah.
Well, for Tony, Tony would take, and I just went literally 3 things, not a gathering of many things.
Yeah.
And because my 2 older children are now married and out of the house, the 3
got a
things
spare
I said
hand.
Tony would get is myself, Ben, and Summer.
That was right in one.
Was that number 1 or all 3?
What about you, Noel?
Well, I obviously didn't read the small print on this.
Yeah.
I put what Angela would take out of the house in case of a burning incident was her wardrobe, her son, and our dogs. I'd be left in fighting.
Oh, that's not
'Cause
true.
Noel
I
can
would
carry
assume.
himself.
No, she'd nudge me. She'd nudge me and say, "Love, do you want to get up? It's a bit warm inside. Can the aircon come on?"
No, so you're true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I probably would take those things, but you would be carrying me as I'm carrying them.
Well,
So I'm assuming that Noel and Dara can take themselves out of the house.
that's
Oh, no, sorry. Myself and Dara can take themselves out of the house. So what I've got for you, Noel, is you'd take the dogs first, then you'd take your car, and then your favourite pair of shoes.
You'd already have them on.
Okay, so moving on. So for those that don't know, Noel is an absolute fan of sneakers, trainers, runners, and all the rarest types, and a bit of a connoisseur really when it comes to those. And so you would take your rarest pair, which is,
I'd probably wear my off-whites, probably.
yeah, there you
What
go.
colour are they?
They're grey. No, they're brown, actually,
not
which is
quite
pretty
white.
off-white. They're about as off-white as you can go.
Yeah.
If ever I'm there and there's a fire, I'll grab them.
Yeah. But I do have a set of Nike that changed colour in heat, so I'd be very interested to see how they do. Near the fire, away from the fire. Near the fire, away from the fire.
Yeah, you get distracted though.
I know, but, you know,
So should
all
I
marshmallows.
move out of the fire? It's looking great in this colour.
Okay, moving on to question number 2. What is your partner's weirdest fear? Right, start with you, Noel.
Butterflies.
Yes!
Because so many people have been ravished and destroyed by butterflies.
I know. I really don't like anything flying around me like that. I've really got a fear of butterflies.
I don't like butterflies that carry house bricks.
You know, and it's weird because I live in Australia and there's spiders and snakes and all things that can kill you. And butterflies. That's the thing I don't
Well,
like.
it's funny, because Tony, what I had down for Tony's weirdest fear is actually bees. So bees and
Well,
butterflies.
they've got a sting. They've got a sting.
But he's
But bees
actually
are like
allergic
butterflies with a
to
flick
them
knife.
too.
Right, okay.
You know, bees are
So
like
we're going with the
butterflies
whole
with a flick knife,
insect
so let's
thing
be
here,
honest.
aren't we?
Yeah.
That's a valid one.
So I've had for you, Noel, polystyrene.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I once
He
stuck it up my
hated
nose and in my ears and I got rushed to hospital. That's why.
Oh, fair enough.
When we got married, funny story to segue, we came home from our honeymoon
With
and my
polystyrene.
friends had filled my car up through the sunroof with polystyrene balls.
From a
whole
beanbag.
car, beanbag balls.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's
And they
impressive.
That's
stick
good.
to
That
you.
is probably, was this
You turn
before
the air
airbags
on,
or
yeah,
after
before
airbags? Because
flies
if you'd have sent a
airbags.
picture to Volvo, you could have patented that and you'd make millions.
That's brilliant.
It flew through those
Nightmare.
air vents for
It
years.
was horrible.
So what's Beck's fear?
Oh, yes. Leaving the home without a clothes on.
Is this the same night of the fire?
I have those dreams where you like have that dream and you're naked and you're just like, I'm glad that was a dream.
Yeah. Every now and
like
then
a-
in the night you'll hear this
Where'd I
scream.
put the car keys?
No, I've got my clothes on, it's okay.
They're in the prison wallet.
I can probably concur with that fear. I think I'd have that because I wouldn't have my wardrobe.
That's right.
Okay, moving on to our next question then. What is the most annoying thing your partner does?
Should I go first?
Go on then.
Okay, mine's very diplomatic. And I'm a gold digger, not a dirt digger.
Ah,
Ching.
digging
No,
dirt.
I couldn't do an annoying habit for him.
Oh, that is diplomatic.
I'm going to be
just
hooked.
a-
Plenty. I know myself.
So
so
bring-
well.
He's going to feel really bad now when he gives yours.
That's the whole point.
Come on, Tony, cough it up.
Oh, man, you might have to change that answer. There's a pen.
Okay, most annoying habit I've got is not letting me near her during me time.
Ah,
No, it's me time.
yeah.
Which
Well, she's a
We
rider.
have that in our
I
house.
get
It's every day.
that.
Every day
I'm
ending in
the
Y.
zone.
Yeah, actually, that was one of mine that I was
Yeah.
going to say for Noel because
that?
you do tend to, you can interrupt sometimes when you're in the mid flow of
There's
riding or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's very difficult. But there's
Sorry,
one
did you say
that's
something?
there's one that is even more annoying:
What's that?
not flushing the toilet.
I do flush the toilet occasionally
So go on,
when needed.
down to you.
Right. I think yours is you get up at oh my gosh o'clock every single day.
I know.
What time's that?
That's slightly
5 a.m.
after oh my gosh.
It's, oh my gosh, what time is it?
Yeah, it's like
Why is
surely
the sun not
she
up
goes, I've
yet?
got to go out for a run or a walk. I go, surely the pavement's there at 8 or 7.
And the
It's
sun
like-
hasn't even found it yet.
It does get hot though. I do.
I am a 5 a.m. riser.
Yeah.
That is true.
So no matter, we go to bed at 5 a.m. It's all right. I don't mind. I don't mind being awake, but it's like, will you?
Yes. Okay. So to our next question then, what is their best quality? I can start because I haven't started yet.
yeah.
So, Noel, your best quality, you have lots of really good qualities, but the one I really love about you is your generosity. You're very generous to other people, and you're always looking for ways to be generous.
Yeah.
What would you say?
It's quite simple. Your heart.
Another thumbs up and head nods for the
There you
YouTube.
go.
And up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
that
done.
heart
And
would
it's
be the
still
same
big
heart.
at 5 a.m.
Yeah, that heart would be a lot better if it was going up at 7.
Okay, Tony.
What was the question? I
Oh,
have an answer.
what is their best quality?
Best quality. Oh, Beck has lots of lovely qualities. I can sum it up as her presence. Just her
Buys your
presence.
presents?
Just her presence.
Bang! Bang on!
But
That was
just
such a good answer.
The way, yeah, I just like the way when Beck walks into a room, it's like butterflies, but not your scary butterflies.
Yeah.
Nervous
I
panic
scared
just then.
Angela.
She just brings a presence with her where she goes, and I really like
Yeah.
Aw.
Oh, that's
I used to do that when I
beautiful.
was younger. It was a police presence, but it's not quite what we're looking for, I suppose. But, it's my 10 penneth.
Well, my best quality that I've written down for Tony is, and he has many, but perseverance. And that's something that, like, life throws you lots of curveballs, but Tony's perseverance has always pulled us and our family through all of those curveballs.
Wow,
So
beautiful.
he's always got hope, and he's always got knowledge that we'll get through things,
That's it.
and we
It'll-
always do.
It too shall pass.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. Yeah, and I think that's a massive strength
Yeah.
to pull.
Yeah.
Like when you're the head of a family, to pull a family through life, you've got to be able to see beyond the problem and
That's
just
right.
keep going. So
Mm.
yeah, he does
Awesome.
that well.
Okay, to our final quick fire question is, if they had a celebrity doppelganger, who would it be?
Who's going first?
Go for it now.
Oh, I'm going first. Arnold Schwarzenegger. No, sorry. No,
That's
Because
because I
he's
get
up
up
at
at 5 a.m.
get me to the chopper.
I'll be back at 5 a.m.
Get me to the coffee machine. Sandra Bullock.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, mine for you then was Bruce Willis. Because he's got the goatee. Oh, on some of his movies, he's got the goatee.
hair
And
at
he's
the
got the
moment.
shaved head.
So that's not that Christmas
then-
film.
Nakatomi
that-
Plaza.
Die Hard.
Yeah,
Oh, the Die Hard one.
It is a Christmas film. Just
Yippee-yi-yay.
So I've probably gone Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Ah, yes.
And he wrote it on a
I
whole
can see
page so we could
that.
show the video.
And if you ever
In
see Beck
Zorro.
with the sword, yep, that's
Yeah.
kind of
That
with the
looked
dress
really
flicking.
good.
That was a
and-
good one, like that.
Yep, swish, swish, swish.
Well, the one I have for Tony, he often had people say this, especially when he was younger, that he looks like Brad Pitt.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Yes. When he was younger, we often had people say,
What's he look like now?
I know.
Armpits.
I actually had that down. Actually, I scribbled it out. I put Brad Armpit. And for the viewers at home, Brad Armpit scribbled out. And I only scribbled it out because it smells good.
Brad Pitt's aged quite well, I think.
Yes.
yeah, you have too, hon.
I'm hoping so. I've got a long time to go yet.
And he has 2 eardrums.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that will give you a little bit of insight into us and
And how this is going to go.
how this is going to go.
The icebreaker of the show.
But you're both husbands. So what is your favourite family moment?
Oh, you're looking at, everyone's looking at me, so it must
Yeah.
be me answering.
I am
that, isn't it?
So I can
looking for
think.
some serious answers off you
Okay.
now too.
My favourite family moment was when our son came into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an easy one, isn't it? Like, but
How does that feel for a father then?
Yeah.
I don't know how it feels for other fathers. I know how it feels for me.
Yeah,
it
right.
was just it was just like a moment of, oh, everything changes now,
Yeah.
and there's like a new addition of love in your life that you've thought you knew, but you didn't know until the thing arrives. But then you have to clean a nappy, and then it all changes.
When the first time I went out and left him with Dara,
It was hard.
and it was probably a good few months.
Yeah, Dara was 17.
What do I do with him?
And I remember I just left the house and he was still in nappies, and it was still.
I wasn't in nappies, by the way.
Dara was still in nappies. I left the house the first time, and literally I hadn't even got to the end of the street, and I got a phone call. He's just done a corner poo.
I remember actually
It's
phoning
all
up.
up his back.
It was
What do
like,
I do?
literally, there's a nappy. I always thought the nappy was there to catch said thing,
Yes.
but it was up his back,
Oh,
and it was green. So I phoned Angela and said, "What have you been feeding him? Like aquatic life or something like that?" It was just,
Yeah, and so he freaked out, basically.
yeah, it's not right. That. I mean,
Yeah, 'cause-
other animals are born and they get up and they do it, they walk and do it all themselves and stuff like that. No, we've got to do that. That's not right.
Our babies would always do that just before church. So you pull them out of the pram or the cot, and there's like poo right up their back. It's
Yeah.
like,
How's it
why
get
are you
there?
always late to church? Because we've got to fix the nappy.
What, is there some special kind of nappy that's actually made with like a poo retardant fabric, so it pushes it up their back?
Only
Surely it's a design
That
fault.
nappy has one job, and it's not doing it.
This one's faulty.
Can we
And
put this
we-
one in a
Chuck that
Ziploc
one in
bag?
the
and we always put the faulty nappies on when we know that you're taking.
Oh, there you go.
Take
It's
it
all out. It's the special husband nappy.
So what about
Well,
you,
obviously not for
Tony?
husbands.
Oh, ask the question again. It's been a long-
Favorite family memory? for you?
Oh, okay. There's lots, obviously, but one I really like was we went to a secluded beach house for a couple of weeks, and so we drove for hours and hours and hours, and we packed games and we packed some films that we liked and all that kind of stuff, and we just went and chilled out literally for 2 weeks, and it was
Yeah.
just very cool. And that was only a couple of years back.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you were going
with all
to
the
say then,
kids.
we forgot clothes. And ever since then, Beck's been mentally worried about it.
It was one of those jackets, you know, those dressing gowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the kids have really good memories of that too, because they're just like,
yeah.
and it rained a lot of the time, so we were indoors playing board games and having a fire, roasted pizzas, and it was lovely, wasn't it?
I think the cool thing was that we didn't intentionally. Everyone shut their phones and all the devices off, but we actually kind of just did, and we just unplugged, like without actually going intentional to unplug. We just did because we found that when we had nothing else to do, no jobs to go to, that we actually just all glued back in together again. It was really nice.
And we had a 3-day Monopoly game.
Yeah. Yes, we did.
My
That was awesome.
goodness.
So
I
you
think I
both
won.
you both talked about so for you it was obviously at the birth of our son, and it's all around your role as a father. So what is the best thing about being a dad?
Certainly not changing nappies. I went first last time. You go first this time.
Oh, best thing.
Because I can copy you.
Gee, it's tough. There's a lot, but I think we just had 2 of our older children just get married last year, and so that changes dynamics. And I think one of the best things about being a dad is actually being able to grow through the seasons of life, their life, our life, and now also embrace their spouses. And it just it's like a funnel in reverse. We just it's getting bigger and bigger. And I think that's a lovely space to be as a dad, because you kind of see what you were doing early on in life, and all those hard nights and hard days and all the sacrifices, and now you get to actually harvest some of that and be there.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. If we just added that across onto mine, then I'll just move my lips and you can just dub it in for me.
But it must be strange when you start to see the qualities that you've put in your kids coming back at you through your kids as well. How does that feel as a father?
Well, for me, I just love the fact that Dara was nothing like me as a kid growing up. To be fair, he's a total opposite in a lot of the senses. Yeah. So, and I strived in order to not see that, to see that not happen in his life. Yeah. And so that was important to me, and so managed to get there. So doing all right. He says. The rest are just ignorant bliss.
And what kind of advice, like being dads and
get a wife?
Yeah. All the kids are pretty much grown up now. What kind of advice would you, as a dad, pass on to other dads who are just starting out?
Just relax more and breathe more, and not worry about the stuff, especially early on, because it will come right. Yeah. And be consistent.
Consistency is a key, isn't it? Like, just that is so important for children, just to know who their parents are, and they're always going to be that parent to them, isn't it?
And also, I'm Dara's mate. Well, I see myself as that, but I'm his dad first. Yeah. And they're two very different relationships.
There's that respect as a dad, and then there's the mate he can muck around with as well. Yeah. And how do you define those moments, like when you're just mucking around together? You can still pull in that dad thing at the same time, can't you? Like, he knows.
You don't think about it; it just happens. I think. Yeah. I think you just got. I think if you over concentrate on it, you miss the point.
Yeah. You've got a lot of shared interests though, which kind of helps you to connect with him.
Yeah. And I look for those as well. We go to classical music things. This may surprise you. There was no classical music in the hood.
It's really about getting alongside them, isn't it? Doing life
and enjoying what they enjoy.
Yeah.
Paying an interest in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I actually remember hearing a story from somebody once. Someone had asked the father and said, something like, "Oh, so you're really passionate about cars and stuff. How long have you always loved cars?" And the guy goes, "I never liked cars. I never liked them at all." And he goes, "But you've got all these cars." And I said, "Yeah, because my kids liked them."
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
You should see the amount of instruments in our house.
Yes.
Every household should have drums and piano.
Yes.
Every single one.
Yes. Yeah, well, we're one of them. We definitely do.
Because if you can't play the piano, at least you can go and bash something.
What would your advice be, Tone?
Oh, I'd probably say be kind to yourself. It can be quite daunting having the responsibility of children and career and trying to, build security and build a home and do all of those things. And then, I often look back and I kind of sit there and I think, man, all those years, and I think how much more time I could have spent with them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I have to be kind to myself because we can only do the best that we can with what we have.
That's right.
And not everyone gets the same starting point. But it's important that you have a goal of where you're going to finish. And so, although all the obstacles may come against you, you've got to be persistent.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're born into a dysfunctional family or a functional family. You've got to see a vision of something beyond. And we have inherited that. Beck's dad was in a dysfunctional family and he chose to have a life for his family that was not like his own. And so our kids are the beneficiaries of that.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
So it kind of, for me, it just comes back. And I don't look back often because I find it quite... I like to look forward to wherever I'm heading. But I do think back and I go, how could I have done that better? How could I have done that better? we're all battling our own things as well, and whether it's illness sometimes, whatever it happens to be, to overcome those things. And I remember when I was studying for a while there, and I was working full-time, and I was doing 5 units a semester of study, and we had the 4 kids, and we had a couple of my grandparents pass away, and I'm thinking to myself, how on earth am I going to keep going through all of this? And it was just, I had to set a vision beyond what I've been dealt, and just keep going till I found it. So anyway,
no, I mean, that's just such an important thing. Like you can, and I think particularly for a father, you can look back and think the responsibility is I've got to create this life for my family, and you can strive so much, and then you think it's at detriment to the time with your family, but you know when you've succeeded by the fruit of what is your kids. And, you know, you can look back and think, oh, I should have spent more time. I should have made some different decisions, chose a different pathway. But when you look at your kids now, and for you guys, your kids they're so well grounded. They're such great kids that clearly
They're out of nappies.
that clearly love their family. And so, you know, even in those times where you perhaps would have liked to have spent more time with them, it's not been to detriment to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And when you're there, you're there.
Yeah.
And I think like even just the heart that you have and thinking back on those things, I saw you sacrifice a lot for them, and you chose to work from home so that you could be around them. Yeah. So even with all of that, I think we always feel like there's more that we can do. There's more that we could have done. But when you look back on it, it's like Tony said, you do everything you can. Yeah. I think, and that's the best that anyone can do, isn't it?
You know, and you guys really clearly do the very best with what you have. And, you know, you've always worked really, really hard. And just your kids are so good, and they're such a testament to who you are as parents.
This is the cue for you to talk about Dara really.
Anyway, that's gone.
And I think that's part of like going through life together, and not sheltering from what you're going through. You have to be honest with each other and take them with you on that journey.
So what are the things that you value that you hope to see that your kids value? So say if you could name 3 things that you hope your kids value, what would it be that you feel you've given to them?
Family, certainly generosity, and strength, or consistency, or whatever word you want to use on it. But that thing about sticking, be the last person standing.
Do you want to explain what you mean by that?
Generosity speaks for itself.
The last person standing thing, because that's something you talk about a lot. But
it's probably linked to a bit of the stuff that what Tony said is like life will send you swerve balls, send you all sorts of things. Just because you get knocked to your knees, you don't have to stay there. You get knocked. Get knocked down 7 times, get up 8. Take a little and keep on ticking. Whatever term you want to put by it. In other words, don't let life beat you.
Yeah.
Find a way through it.
Yeah. However
that is, whether it's visualizing somewhere beyond that situation.
Yeah.
But just knowing that you've got this. So.
And I can see that in Dara. Like Dara's just this very solid in his faith, solid in his love for family. He's a very wise young man. You guys have done amazing. And he can have a good laugh.
Does he get up at 5 a.m?
No. Only when required.
And he's successful in everything he does. So everything you've put into him, it's great when you get to this age and you're seeing the fruits of it.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
He's just an amazing musician, kind-hearted, beautiful friend to people.
I know, we do often wonder how did that happen? What about you then, Tony? Some of the qualities you hope to see in your kids.
Compassion's probably a big one. Loyalty, I think you've got to be loyal to family, friends,
whatever
everything.
You do.
It's just integrity fits in with that as well. And then, fall in love with things. Be passionate about life.
I love that.
Yeah. I love hearing the heart of fathers.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
And, something society is built on, isn't it?
Well, we don't hear it enough.
Yeah,
really.
that's right.
We hear a lot about mothers, but we don't often get to hear the perspective of a father.
It's
And
something we need to hear more.
definitely.
Well, we obviously need to get the mic more often then, don't we?
Yes. We'll have to
Maybe not from
talk
you,
more
but
about fathers.
Quiet in the cheap seats.
Let's do 6 months of fathers leading up to Father's Day this year.
okay. So then, another question is: what would you like to be known for?
I'd like to be the first person to walk on Mars without breathing apparatus.
Do it.
But I'll settle for two iPods.
In fact, I'm all for that. Can we send him to Mars?
you're
Without
on
breathing
Venus.
apparatus.
I don't really want to be known for anything, to be honest.
That's being known for something, isn't it?
No, but even
Ironically.
it's just characteristics. Like,
Yeah,
What's your
look, to me,
legacy?
the greatest crime you could pull off in the world is to be in love with your wife and
Trust me, that's not the greatest crime.
raise your kids. Just those simple. It's actually really simple things, and like
Yeah.
I had opportunities to go and do things that the world would like, but I wasn't interested in. Not interested in them, so they weren't my values. So who knows? I like drums. And that's the funny thing is even drums and stuff. In some ways you look at it, it probably is self-indulgent because it brings me a lot of joy, that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So maybe that's, if I was to analyse that a bit more, being the psychopath, I probably do those things a lot. It probably is a little bit in that way, sort of a selfish pursuit, but it also, I like to share it with other people as well.
Yeah.
As we go
Well, it's
down
drumming,
the
mate. It's a bit hard not to, really, isn't it?
path. Drums,
I mean,
yeah.
Here's Tony, the world's quietest drummer.
I think too, like all the study that you did and all the involvement in politics that you've had over the years has really come from your heart to make the world a better place for your children and
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
your grandchildren. So I think
Yeah.
everything that you do is stemming from your love for family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look, I mean, I've fought a lot of battles through my time, not just personal battles with different things, but I've also taken on insurance companies and banks and government agencies and all those kinds of things where I found injustice. And my driving
You've been
mode-
busy, mate. Government's an injustice, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, there's a lot, but there's some things I just can't stay quiet about, and so I pursue those things because in the back of my mind I go, I know how much fight I have to put in the game, and I go, I can't imagine other people wanting to do the same thing. So I fight not for my outcome, but because I actually know that I'm helping someone else not have to fight that fight at some point.
Yeah.
Can make it a hard road though.
Well,
hey?
we-
It is a hard road.
And we're all standing on the shoulders of the generations before us that have cut pathways that we'll never have to do.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
And so that's exactly the same thing.
And I think when you summarise all that, what do we want to be known for? I think as fathers really just want their kids to have a better life.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
No.
What would you say, Noel?
Well, I think there's two things, isn't it? It's like, I'm not fussed like Tony about being known as me,
Yeah.
but being known for something is your fruit.
Yeah.
So, like that. And so probably those, it's the qualities I said about for Dara, isn't it? It's like is loyalty. Well, I didn't say that for Dara, but loyalty. I'm big on that one. Generosity, and just being real, and stopping and smelling the coffee sometimes and seeing, sort of trying to think, how can I help here? How can I do it? And sort of be known for that, like saying that they actually sort of cared. They cared for me when they heard that I actually felt that they listened to me or whatever.
I think you've been very deliberate in raising Dara, right? And
Yeah.
like you were saying before, you've come from a different background, much like my dad, and you made the deliberate decision to raise Dara to be to have a better life. To be a
and I
better-
think that's I think that's
Yeah.
every mother and father is to see their kids do better than them and
Yeah,
stand
so
on
that-
their shoulders.
Yeah, yeah.
And generation after generation, that's a good thing to do. I mean, some people's got taller shoulders than other people. Some people
We're
have got
not
really
looking at
shoulders.
anyone
That
in
would be
particular.
good.
They got really,
Us,
they got
we're
really
both
slopey shoulders. So you've got, obviously, there's a health and safety issue there.
So what is it then that you admire about the way your wives parent?
Oh God!
It's an interesting question, isn't it?
I didn't
Well,
realise
I'm going to go back a second because I remember back during that whole COVID fiasco and everything like that.
What is this COVID fiasco you're talking about?
Yeah, it's deleted. And I remember back then, and I rang Noel about something. I'm just chatting on the phone. Like, where are you, mate? Because I could hear all these noises going on in the background, and he's down at the local supermarket or whatever.
With a mask on.
Yeah.
But it was a Star Wars mask.
It was probably like an anonymous mask or a helmet.
Star Wars mask.
Or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was down there.
It was a
And I go, "What are you
balaclava.
doing?" He goes,
It was a post office.
I'm just helping out. And I'm like, what do you mean you're helping out? And the short end of a very long story was, here's Noel down there. Well, COVID's all locked down and people couldn't get money and stuff. Noel's paying for all their groceries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, well.
Amazing.
People have got to eat.
But anonymously, I might add.
Not anymore.
I know, 'cause, you know,
I know.
It was no.
I probably should say sorry, but it was Noel. He was down there.
Yeah.
If you're in Caloundra.
I know, because you say, like, for me, you pulled out that I've got a big heart, but really, you have too.
Yeah.
And often people can look at you and think, oh, you know, he's just this funny guy that, like, you've got the king of the one-liners. But actually, there's so much depth
Yeah.
behind that and a real heart behind that. And as you say, you don't want to be known for anything for yourself. And that's actually the beautiful thing about you.
I just want to touch too on that, what I said earlier about you've seen both extremes of life. Can we talk a little bit about your upbringing? Because from what you've told me, you were around a lot of gangs. Your family was like, don't mess with this family kind of thing. Can you tell us just a little
the
bit?
PG version.
Yeah, I was about to
Noel.
say.
Yeah,
How much
yeah.
of this is getting edited?
We're now about to go into a crimes podcast.
Yeah.
But just,
Welcome
just
to Crime
get an
Watch.
idea for our
Yeah.
audience of what you've come from and where you are now.
Gosh, where do we start? Yeah, I grew up in a pretty rough. It's a rough city in a rough street in a rough city, and my family my dad was pretty well known, and my aunts and uncles and cousins were all very, very well known.
What for?
For the wrong reasons.
It wasn't shopping. If it was, they weren't paying. No,
We're talking England.
Yeah, in England, and you know, so we were. My father was involved with the doing the doors as a young lad and stuff like that, and so it grew from that. And my aunt's kids were involved in that as well. So trying to be careful what I say here, don't get myself into trouble. And but yeah, no, it was a rough, yeah. So you kind of learnt to not talk things through.
But your parents were
No, they were
solid
beautiful.
in terms
Yeah,
of
they
the
were solid
family
at that.
unit.
They taught me but family was number one,
Yeah.
and the unity that you have inside that is special,
Yeah.
Mm.
and to be protected. And so I don't have I even though I made some life choices early on in my that were probably not. I would never want Dara to make, for instance. They would have not wanted me to do those things as well. But they also. My dad always told me, don't run away from a fight. And
Because of the environment you're living in,
yeah,
your parents had to teach you how to defend yourself, and
Yeah.
and they were protective of you and the family
yeah,
in a way that they had to put a strong presence around you just for protection in that place, wasn't it?
yeah. There was
so-
only. Growing up, there was only two types of people, and there was victims and those that weren't victims.
I thought you were going to say
Yeah.
dead and alive.
Pretty much. There was that as well.
yeah.
So
I mean, you were the environment you grew up in. You were really surrounded by violence and crime,
pretty much.
and you had to learn how to just survive and know who you were within that. And I often think it's amazing, really, that you didn't fall into that yourself, and you had to be a strong person to.
I don't want to be a sheep. If I'm going to get into trouble, I want it to be my choice, not by someone else's choice, or just for blindly following someone.
And now you bring that strength of character into your role as a father, raising Dara, protecting him,
Yep.
and showing him the right way to live.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm quite. He would deal with things very differently how I would deal with things when I was his age.
And his environment that he's grown up in is completely
Yeah, totally.
opposite, really,
Yeah,
to
totally.
how Noel's grown up.
Yeah,
It's in
Yeah.
Australia mostly.
Mainly.
yeah.
Mainly, but just even family and the just in environment and personalities and all that sort of stuff. He
Yeah, there
hasn't
was-
had to come up across the challenges that you have had to.
No, there was a hoolie every week when I was growing up, so someone was getting their lights punched at some point.
Yeah, wow.
Sometimes it was entertaining.
Yeah, now talking about backgrounds, because I was interested for you, Tony, that I know as a 16-year-old boy, you got sponsored by Zildjian to travel the world playing drums. You know, that would be a lot of young boys' dream, you know, particularly if they were into drums.
If they were drum players especially.
Drummers, yeah.
Oh, I play the clarinet.
Into drums as you are. Well, tell us about that time in your life, and then really what was it that changed that for you?
I got to say the first thing that sparked my interest in Tony was hearing him play drums. But you keep going.
Look, I started playing drums when I was 13, so it was... Well, actually, the truth of the story is this simple. My parents, we were in the Salvation Army, and they had a brass band there. And they said, right, you know, you're 13, you got to learn an instrument because everyone knows an instrument. You can play tuba and all these things. And in my head, I don't know why, but I actually thought you had only so many breaths in your life. Like, you've got 1.7 billion breaths, and that's it. And I'm like, I am not going to waste my life blowing into some piece of brass. That's ridiculous. Like, I literally...
Apologies to all the brass players at Ali.
Yep. And I have no idea what age that was. It could have been 9, 10, I don't even know. But it was age 13 that I just, for some reason, drums appeared. And my uncle had a drum set, and he loaned me a drum set. And that was it. And by the time I was 16...
Did you give it back?
Sorry?
Did you give it back?
I did a long time.
I thought you were going to say I laundered it then.
Had it for years. Look, drums probably saved me because I, you know, in many ways, I could have gone down many paths in my life, and just playing music and stuff just really was the thing that kept me where I needed to be. So yeah, I was endorsed by a cymbal brand and drum brand and stuff at age 16. By the time I left school, I had already toured overseas and up and down the coast in all different bands, and would play in Battle of the Band competitions. And I was so young I couldn't go through the front doors because I was under 18. And the guys in the band were like 30 plus. They were like old people for me back then.
Those old 30-plussers.
But they just asked if I'd play, and I'd go in and play. And I started winning all these Battle of the Band's best drummer, and I'd get cymbals and I'd get stuff because and all I was doing was having fun playing, but after going through the back door. And those things just kind of snowballed. And eventually I was asked to go to the States with a band, of which I did. And just before that, I'd met Beck at a Bible camp, actually. And that's where we first met. And then I went to America.
That's a Battle of the Bible bands.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't initially going to go to that, but just felt like it was a life-changing moment, and I needed to, so I did. And that's where we first met. It kind of lit the fire. Yeah. Beck was pretty young then, and I was ready to go to America. And then I went to America and toured and played drums over there in a bunch of bands, and then got probably what you'd call the gig of your life. So there's probably three in the Christian music scene. There's probably 3 big bands, and it was one of those. And they'd kind of see me play at the different festivals, was signing me up for the next tour, and I said, I can, but I have to come back to Australia because I promised the band I went over with that we'd headline a festival called Black Stump Festival in Sydney. And I said, I have to do it because I said I would, and I'm not. So I'm very much loyal in that sense.
Yeah.
So came back, went and did those shows, and then bumped into Beck again. And then I had this moment where I'm still expected to go back to America and go on tour with this band. Now that was my life dream. That's what I wanted. Cabinet making was the plan, D as far as I was concerned. Drums was my plan A, but my parents said, you have to get a trade because I'm still relying on the cabinet making. But my advice to everyone out there as a father is no plan B, C, or D. Just go with plan A. But yeah, long story short, I had a choice. I either go back to America or I stay and pursue Beck, and that's the story. I chose Beck.
Pretty glad he made that decision.
Me too.
Sorry, our kids.
Doesn't it?
Tip number 10 to whatever all the children out there or young adults is find your soulmate and throw everything you got into it.
To our final question then. Well, first of all, actually, before we go there, how do you feel about this podcast?
I think it's brilliant. I feel like Howard Stern.
No, I mean, in terms of...
I think it's just gone up
sorry,
since
I thought
Noel
you
and
meant
I
for me.
came on.
How do you feel about your wives
I thought this could be my moment.
being podcasters?
Just double our listenership.
No, I love it. I love the fact that it started off with just a little conversation and a little sort of what should we do? Should we do this? And look where you're at now. 2 geniuses in there with you. I mean, I can only imagine
High
how
five, Noel.
awesome.
Come on, that's
I can
good.
only
Say that.
imagine how
Peak
awesome
of
it
our
would be to have me on your show.
We are so honoured.
I mean, seriously,
So honoured.
Seriously, you know,
I
where do you
saw
go
gold
from here?
buckets out there,
I know.
Noel,
You're
so
gonna
they're
have to move to a bigger
Yeah,
city.
I know.
You're gonna have to
What are we
start.
gonna do?
You know, who can we get in?
If
It's
anyone's got
alive.
any ideas out there, let us know, because we've just hit the peak of
That's
our,
it. That's
our
it.
guests.
This will unfortunately be the last broadcast from podcast, the Gold Diggers podcast. We've peaked.
I think it's a great idea. I remember when Beck said, "Oh, look, we're tossing up some names for the podcast, and one's gold diggers," and I'm like, "You know what a gold digger is?" And she's like, and she knew, but didn't really know the full extent. And I'm like, "This is what a gold digger is." And I'm like, if you go with that name, you have to basically reclaim it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So you got to reclaim it. You know, so that's the only way out of this. Anyway, so
It was that or Terence, and that's as much. Sorry
it's
to all the
true.
Terences out there.
But in reclaiming it, I think you've done a great job. Like, it's great listening to people's story. And I mean everyday people. I won't say average people. I just mean everyday people who are often overlooked
Yeah.
in society. And you never know what's happening to these different people unless someone's willing to sit down and have a conversation with them and
Yeah.
pull things out. And so I think that's
good.
I think that's the gold in all of the show, is the fact that you take the time to find the not often seen people, I guess you could probably say, and have a conversation with them,
Not the ugly ones.
and pull stuff out and see what, because they also have probably rarely had nice things said about them in their life.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
Do you know, I think what the world needs, it needs more encouragers.
Yeah.
it actually does.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
agree.
the Gold Diggers podcast does. Is it pulls out the people that are spending their life encouraging those around them. So it's encouraging them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the unsung
Yeah.
heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, that leads me to what I feel your gold is the fact that you do encourage us. And
What a lead.
really, we couldn't do
That's nearly
this without
professional,
your
It's another
support.
high five.
And we appreciate the humour to keep us going.
I don't think Angela does so much.
We
but
appreciate
thank
the
you for saying
humour
that.
sometimes
In the right
Appreciate your
doses.
in the right dosage.
Well, you guys do a great job in just sitting down with people and just opening up their life a little and laying it out in front of them and saying, "See there, and see there, and see there." And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good use of your time that will invest, and it's like sowing seeds into the ground.
Yeah.
It will keep going. So one person hears it and go, "Oh, I love that story about so-and-so. It really made me think twice about doing something more in my life," or whatever it is. So the investment of your time into talking with different people and pulling out those gold nuggets just keeps going, and it keeps
Yeah.
going. And I think that's
So talking
great
about gold nuggets, I think we could reveal gold. I would like to reveal gold about
She's
Tony.
going to
Yeah, we'll do it
she's
the
going to
opposite.
reveal your gold nuggets, mate.
Let's talk gold
Thing.
nuggets.
Maybe you want to borrow the jacket.
But it's okay. Your wife is present, so it's fine. No, but like I loved
Your
what
turn next, Noel.
Beck
That's all right.
mentioned, Tony, is that sometimes life can be tumultuous, but you're stable,
Compost.
and there's a solidness about you that is secure even when things are uncertain.
Steadfast.
Yeah, even when things are uncertain. And I think that gives great confidence to your wife and to your family that you are a rock that they can lean on. And no matter how much weight you've had to carry through your life to take that, you've took it without it reflecting on them. And that's a really great quality for you. And you're really passionate about change. You, as you said, you've changed things for your family, for their future, and you want to do that for Australia, for communities, because you want the world to be a better place. And that really is in the vein of who you are. Yeah.
You
Thanks.
really nailed that. You really nailed that.
It's like it was scripted.
And yet it wasn't. Okay, Noel, your
There you go.
turn.
No
You
pressure.
ready? Well, Noel, like I've said before, like your life experience has been so polar opposites almost, but what you've brought from your earlier life has made you a great protector and intensely loving of your family. Like, I don't think there's anything you wouldn't do for your family. And I can
Change
see
nappies,
that.
I wouldn't do that.
Except for the nappies, yeah.
Done one of them, don't want to do any more.
Good thing is Tara's old enough now.
Yeah. Oh, geez, imagine doing it now.
outsource that.
No, that's it, no.
And I see it in Dara. I see it in the lovely young man he is. And I see the strong relationship you have with him. And I love that this heart of a father that you have is just so evidently seen by everyone who knows you. And I think that's what really shines from you is just you are a great dad, and amongst many other things, but you really shine as the dad, the husband, the protector of the family, the protector of the household. And that's a massive strength.
I'll come and protect your household for a small fee.
So thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll have a few edits on this podcast, but
I'm sorry about that.
Might be a bit disjointed.
and for being so vulnerable and open and wise. So we really appreciate that.
And thank you, Noel.
And we appreciate everything you do for our children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you too.
Yes, we do.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. Honey, you're my sugar.